On Tuesday, the governor of the Lone Star State decided the pandemic was over and is lifting the statewide mask mandate and opening businesses to 100%. So, if you didn't think Texas was already one of the worst run states in the country after we lost power during a snowstorm, well, here you go. And if you think that was a stupid move, well, then you and Biden are on the same page.
Texas, I think it's a big mistake. Look, I hope everybody's realized by now, these masks make a difference. We are on the cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way in which we were able to get vaccines in people's arms. We've been able to move that all the way up to the end of May to have enough for every American, to get every adult American to get a shot. And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask.
Neanderthal thinking. That's almost as much of a shot as shut up, man. That's a pretty heavy hit for Biden there. Now, I do think we need to find an off-ramp for this pandemic, right? I mean, we've been dealing with this for a year, and we finally have the vaccine. I got my second shot already. Very happy to say so. And so there is definitely a conversation to be had about when should this pandemic end? How should we, get out of some of these lockdowns, some of these mask ordinances? Like, we should definitely be talking about that. But I've talked to liberals, like conservatives here in the great state of Texas, and none of them think the pandemic will just somehow magically end on next Wednesday, March 10th, which is when all this stuff is supposed to go into effect. Now, here in Texas, we have passed out more vaccines than any other state in the country, which is awesome. But the problem is we're also one of the biggest states in the country. And so far, we've only gotten, I think it's about 7% of people in Texas have gotten their first shot of the COVID vaccine. And so we are a long way from any sort of, herd immunity. And so when this goes into effect, the new case numbers will go up and Governor Abbott's poll numbers will go down. But my question is, in a realistic sense, is this actually going to change anything? The government has the power to say, okay, you have to wear a mask, or you don't have to wear a mask. But what they don't have the power to do is say you have to serve someone at your business even if they're not wearing a mask. And so far, it seems like most business owners in the state of Texas are still going to require masks, right? So even if you say, hey, I don't want to wear one, well, find somewhere else to go. And so, by and large, it seems that, Texans are going to enforce this policy whether or not, Biden or the state, enforces it at all. Honestly, what this order really does is it makes life harder on business owners. Because now that enforcement is going to fall onto business owners instead of staying with the state. I mean, it's much easier for, a sales clerk or someone, working on retail or working on a restaurant, whatever, say, hey, you have to wear a mask because that's what the state says. It's a little bit harder when it's like, this is what I am saying. So really, this is just putting more burden on business owners with their customers. And so it's really not helping them out very much. And it really doesn't matter what the governor says, If you think this is going to help businesses in Texas, think again, to end the pandemic. And again, we should be talking about how do we end the pandemic. The key is to get the numbers down and keep them down, right? And then we need to rebuild consumer confidence that it is safe to go out and safe to spend money. And the biggest voice for doing that, the biggest, voice that people would normally listen to is the government. People in general trust the government. Now, I know not a lot of people think that's ridiculous to trust the government. I hear you out there. I see your comments. But in general, just general folks, people who probably aren't watching political content on YouTube, they think, hey, if the government says this, then we're good to go. But, if the government seems to be putting politics over health, people won't trust them anymore. Just look at what's happened with the CDC and them being accused of changing things for political reasons. I mean, it's kind of hard to come back from losing that kind of trust. And so again, I think we need to figure out the pandemic, how to end the pandemic, but I don't think it's just going to end on a random Wednesday in March. Probably not the best idea. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for watching Citizen Pete. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, click that little subscribe button, maybe the like button, and hey, maybe just leave a comment. You know, I want to know what you're thinking. What do you think about all politics and news and all the stuff that's going on in our country?